Hello, I'm John Adams, editor of Digital Photo. We're going to have a look at a technique that shows us how we can use text as a creative element within an image. Now, under normal circumstances, text is something we put around the outside of an image, or maybe we put a signature or a caption on an image, but to use it in a creative way is a bit different. Let me show you what I mean. We'll start with a portrait image like this, a nice downcast portrait. And then we're going to add a texture to it. This time it's just simply a question of a bit of broken fence that we're going to blend in with the portrait. We're then going to tone these so they really sit together and gel nicely. And then we're going to add a text effect, a nice little quotation, something a little bit arty or a bit witty. We can then do a little bit more with that if you want to, just some blurred extra text here. And as you can see, the end result is quite an artistic montage. So let's take a look at the whole process. We're going to do it using Element software, and I think you're going to be surprised how easy it all is to make quite a complex looking image. Okay, well that's the kind of thing we're going to end up with, so let's start from scratch. Let's close this one down, and then pop along to File, Open, and choose the Eyes Down image and the Fence image. If you hold the Control key, you can click on both of them at the same time, click Open, and they'll both open on screen. Now if that happens and you can only see one of the images, then you're in Maximize mode. And all you need to do is go up to Window, Images, and choose Cascade. That will allow you to see both of the images. So we can see both of them there, and what we're going to do is drag the fence image into the portrait. So click on the fence first of all, then make sure the Move tool is selected, and making sure you can also see a little bit of the portrait image there. Just grab the fence and drag it in, and you'll see the icon change to a little plus sign when you cross the threshold. Release the mouse there, and now the fence is part of the portrait. Once you've done that, click on the fence again and shut it down. You don't need it anymore, so we can just close that image down. Okay, what we now have is the fence sitting above and obscuring the portrait image. So what we need to do is have a look at our Layers palette. So if you go to Window and choose Layers, click on that, and the layers will appear on screen. Now we can take the Layers palette out of the dock if we want to. Just click and drag, put it onto the screen itself, and then you can move it across, close the dock down, and you've got the Layers palette sitting separately to anything else. Okay, so there's our layers, and we can see there's our background. That's the portrait. We can look at that by switching on the eye icons, and above that we've got our fence layer riding there. Okay, what we're going to do is use a blending mode on the fence layer. So we just click where it says Normal, and from the drop down list choose Screen. There we go. Now we've got the portrait just coming through. We're going to make this work a little bit better just by using the Eraser tool. So if we select that from the toolbox, click on the Eraser tool, and then pick a fairly large brush with a soft edge. So we can get our soft edge brush from this list. If your brush picker doesn't look like this, you can easily change it. Just go to Large List and you'll see the description of the brush along with an icon for it. So Large List is perfectly fine to use. Just pick a soft brush, something like 300 pixels soft round. Choose that one, and then all we need to do is reduce the opacity of the brush to about 50%, something like that. So up in the options bar, make sure that the opacity slider is reduced down to around about 50%. That'll do the trick. If you want a bigger brush, all you need to do is hit the square brackets keys, right square bracket for bigger and left square bracket for smaller. So we'll just take it up to, a bit bigger there, about 700 pixels. Then we're just going to work away at this area of the fence, just to take it away from the portrait itself. We'll leave some of it blending through, but we'll just get rid of the other parts like so. That looks pretty good. There's a little bit of an overlap, but yeah, that's working well. Okay, once you're happy with that, what we've got here is an awkward blend of black and white and colour, and what we're going to do is tone them both together so we get a nice uniform result across the entire image. Now to tone the image is really simple. In the Layers palette, just click on the adjustment layer icon here. Make sure the top layer is selected, the fence layer here that you've just punched a hole in using the eraser, and then click on this half black half white circle, the create adjustment layer icon, and from the list choose hue saturation. Click on that and a rather large hue sat palette will pop up on screen. Down in the bottom right of this palette is a box called Colorize. Tick that and you'll get an instant toning effect. Now by moving the hue slider, you can actually choose any colour you like. You can go for a nice sepia tone at around 30 hue, but we're going to go for a red tone in this example. Now red is either 0 or 360, it's exactly the same number effectively, so pick a hue of about 0, and for saturation, 25 is pretty good, it's a nice subtle effect, but you know, 25 to 50, somewhere between those two will be absolutely fine. Once you've done that, click OK, and hey presto, you have a wonderfully toned image. Now we're getting somewhere, and it's time to add the text. Now to do this, let's just move the layers palette to one side. What we need is the type tool, so click on the T icon in the toolbox. If yours looks different to this one, then just hold down the mouse on it and you'll see there's a horizontal, vertical, and a horizontal type mask and vertical type mask. You need the horizontal type tool, so make sure you've got that one selected. And then we can draw a text box roughly where we want the type to go on the image. So I'm going to draw a text box somewhere around here. That should do the trick, something like that. And that means the type will actually only go into this area of the image. What we need to do now is pick ourselves a typeface that we want to use. Now I want to get a nice sort of classic typewriter font, so I'm going to choose Courier New. There's a huge list of fonts which will depend on what you've got in your system, but I'm going to go for Courier New here, and a regular font weight, and I'm going to go for 24 point. So it's quite a large font size. And then if we move along, there is in fact a color box. And if we click on that, we can actually choose a font color. Now you can pick anything you like, of course, from the color box here, but I'm going to go for a straight white for this particular font. So you can either click right up in the corner there to get white, or you can go for 255, 255, and 255 in the R, G, and B boxes. Or if you want to do it in HTML, all the Fs is white. All the zeros is black, and all the Fs is white. So 6 Fs in a row will give you white. Once you've done that, click OK, and then all you have to do is type in your arty or witty quotation. So we'll put in some quote marks, and we'll just type in. There we go, a person with one watch knows what time it is, a person with 2 watches is never quite sure. That's exactly the kind of text you want in a montage. Once you've got your quotation into your picture in this way, what you need to do is rasterize or simplify the type. Now at the moment, the type is laid down as a vector. That's a mathematical equation effectively. So it means you can scale this type to any size you want to. But we need it down as pixels so we can use it like a regular imaging layer. And to do this, all we have to do is make sure we've got a layers palette up, right click on the type layer here, and then you just have to click on Simplify Layer. And that will turn the type into a regular raster layer or a pixel based layer rather than a vector layer. Now we've done that, we can transform the type and pull it into a more interesting shape. Let me just shift the layers palette out the way. What we're going to do is hit Control and T on the keyboard. That brings up the Transform Tools bounding box. Then we're going to hold down the Control key, and we're just going to pull out those corners just to get something a bit more interesting from our type. I think something like that looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks okay. Once you're happy with the shape you've got, double click inside the bounding box or press Enter on the keyboard, and that transformation will happen, and we can now move that layer around. If we just click on the Move tool, we can move that type into position exactly how we want it. I think something like that looks pretty good. Yep, I'm happy with that. Now at the moment we've got the red toning beneath our type layer. So what we're going to do is just, in the layers palette, drag our toning layer right to the top of the stack like so, and that means that the toning will apply to the type as well. Because we're going to just degrade this type just a little bit, and we'll do that using a special eraser brush. So we select the eraser like we did before, and we'll leave the opacity at 50%, but we're going to select a different type of brush. Now in the brush picker here, if we click on that, scroll right down, quite a way down the list, and you'll find some chalk brushes. If you go for a chalk 60, that gives a nice sort of distressed rough edge to the erasing that takes place. So we'll just select that. And all we're going to do is select the type layer here, so make sure that's active in the layers palette. Then we're just going to increase brush size by using the right square brackets key. There we go, get it up to nice and big, something around 400 pixels. And then just a few gentle clicks on the text will just knock it back a bit in a nice kind of degraded and fragmented way. That's the kind of thing. Just do it here and there, and you get a nice distressed look to it. That's good. That's enough. You don't have to go too mad with it. Once we've done that, I want to introduce just a little bit more type, just over on the other side of the image. So I'm going to duplicate this layer. That's really nice and quick to do. All we need to do is drag the layer over the Create a New Layer icon. So just drag it up, then release the mouse, and we get a direct duplicate of that layer. We'll now select the Move tool, and we're just going to shift it across over to here. And then I think what we'll do, we'll hit Control and T again to go into transform mode, and we'll just rotate that text, something like that. We'll enlarge it a bit as well while we're here. Just pull on one of the corner handles. Yeah, something like that should be good. A bit more rotation. Okay, double click when you're happy. We're just going to take some of this text and let it show through. But before we do that, we're going to change its color. Now we saw the hue saturation palette before. We're going to use that again, and we're just going to use the lightness part of that hue sat palette. So to bring it up, make sure this text is active, the one we've just moved across to this side. Hit Control and U on the keyboard, and in the hue sat palette, just take lightness all the way down, and you'll turn that white text into kind of a dark grey. Click OK when that's done, and there's our nice dark text. What we now need to do is use that eraser again, just to knock back the text we don't need. So just click away and just get rid of some parts of it like so. That's the kind of thing. That looks pretty good. Yep, and once you've done that, what we're going to do is add a bit of blur to that layer as well. So pop up to Filter, choose Blur, and then choose Gaussian Blur. Select that, then in the dialog box, just move the slider till it looks about right. No hard and fast rules, but I think something around there looks pretty good. Around 7 to 8 pixels or so. Click OK when you're happy. And if we just move the layers palette out the way, there's a pretty good looking montage. Nice and simple to do. It looks quite involved. If we look at that layers palette, there's quite a lot going on in there, quite a lot of layers. And if we step through everything, there's our background, our original eyes down portrait. There's our fence, which we knocked a bit of a hole in and blended with the portrait. Then we've got the first bit of text, the second bit of text, and of course the toning riding above everything else to lock everything together. So a great fun technique. Have a play with that. Try some interesting quotations with some of your more arty pictures, and just try blending them with textures. There are no rules to this kind of thing. Great fun to do, and you can lose hours creating some great pictures. Enjoy using that, and see you next time.